Welcome to The Next Level, delivered by FedEx. I'm Dan Thomas, joined in the studio today by Craig Burley and Ali Moreno. And if that was enough, we also welcome Gab Marcotti to the conversation. Real Madrid against Manchester City in the Champions League. Of course, it was a great game, finishing 1-1 in the first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu. I don't think many would be expecting us to be reflecting on the defence leading into that game, but both were very solid indeed. Two players shone in particular. Let's focus on Real Madrid first. Camavinga, Ali, he's not even a defender by right, yet he was superb in this game.
And he continues to impress, and he continues to do a job for Carlo Ancelotti. And it's a job that I don't think he prefers. I don't think Carlo Ancelotti would want him to be out there. But guess what? Given the injuries and given the fact that Camavinga has been given this responsibility and he has done well with this responsibility, Carlo Ancelotti keeps saying, well, you keep going out there and do the job. He's really good in understanding what his physical abilities are. And he's a guy with athleticism that can cover the ground with speed, over distance, can be an outlet in the attack as well. We saw him in the goal by Vini Jr. that he was the one running with the ball. But defensively is the one question that you have about Camavinga playing left back. And while at times Manchester City could have taken advantage of a mismatch that they had, a 2v1 situation that they had on the outside, they didn't, and Camavinga grew with confidence into the match. He continues to be an answer for Carlo Ancelotti that I don't think he expected.
How difficult is it to go from a midfield role to play in this fullback role?
I think it is difficult. It's difficult not from a ball possession kind of sense, because he's good on the ball, he's got a nice left foot, he's comfortable. I think from a positioning point of view, where to position yourself relative to your centre-half, relative to your wide player. Don't be too wide for that ball down the inside. So when to play offside, when to drop off. Those kind of things sometimes people don't think about. Say, oh yeah, look, he gave the ball away, or he did this, or he's not getting forward, which of course he did last night for the Vinicius Junior goal. We played a big part in that. But I think when you go back there and play in defence, whether it be centre-half or full-back, it's not natural, so you're always thinking about your position relative to your back four. And I think he's done a damn good job at that. The other side of the coin is, and I shouldn't have said that, because I always say that, too late now.
It's out.
Is that you would have thought maybe a few months ago, look, you can't put him at left back because he needs him in midfield. But actually that midfield's operated not too badly. OK, they've not won the league, but Modric, Kroos, Valverde, they've got enough in there, too many if they need be, so he can utilise Camavinga at left back, and he's been very good.
Meanwhile, for Manchester City, Gab, a lot of questions about Kyle Walker's future under Pep Guardiola, but proving that he is unbelievably useful when it comes to facing someone like Vinicius Junior with that much pace.
Yeah, I think undoubtedly, in this game, he was the natural match for Vinicius. I mean, I think. I live in England, and all people talk about is, oh, look, he's so fast. Nobody's faster than Kyle Walker. Well, Vinicius probably is faster than Kyle Walker just by virtue of the fact that he's about 10 years younger. But I think Walker's added an intelligence to his pace as well over the years, and I think he made that experience count. Getting the right distance off him when he takes off and whatnot to try to minimize the danger, and he showed, despite the fact that his contract's winding down. He's older. He's maybe not in Manchester City's best 11 in the league when they like playing that 3-4-2-1. For these big games, if you give him a specific task to do, he'll be totally mentally prepared, totally professional, and turn in the kind of performance that we saw last night.
So the game finished 1-1 in the first leg. The second will be, of course, on Wednesday. Manchester City with the home advantage. For Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti's got a big decision to make, hasn't he, Craig? Because obviously Militao was suspended for that first leg tie. We saw Rudiger come in and do an excellent job on Erling Haaland alongside David Alaba. What does he do?
I think we all kind of agreed yesterday, and I think Ali said it on the show, he's going to bring Militao back in, because Militao has played most of the season. He's played most of the season for a reason, because he's his preferred centre-half alongside Alaba, and at times Rudiger's played left back, at times he's been on the bench, and yes, he did a magnificent job, but how do you leave out arguably your best defender all year in what's going to be the biggest game of the season for Real Madrid at the Etihad, even more pressure than they had in the game at the Bernabeu, expecting Erling Haaland not to be as quiet. So I think Listen, Ancelotti gets paid the big bucks to make these big calls, and I think he brings Militao back in.
Could he get rid of Alaba?
No, I don't think so. Alaba provides a sense of organization to the back line and a sense of organization to both Rudiger and Militao. Both Rudiger and Militao are guys that tend to be a little hot-headed, tend to be on the physical side, and if indeed they engage on the physical side, sometimes they get themselves out of position, and Alaba is sort of the guy that brings the calmness to the back line. What you could think about doing is, and I know we just mentioned Camavinga, you could think about the possibility of pushing Alaba to left back and then playing Rudiger alongside Militao. I still think Alaba plays alongside Militao, Camavinga stays as a left back, and then it's just an option as to what you do coming off the bench. And if indeed you need to make changes, maybe you slide Camavinga into the midfield, maybe you slide out Alaba into the left back position. Militao will play. He will be a centre back for Real Madrid.
Meanwhile, for Manchester City, Gab, do you expect any changes to the starting 11 that we saw play the whole game at the Bernabeu?
Yeah, I mean, not unless Nathan Ake is, somehow is fit again, which I think is probably a remote possibility. I think he's comfortable with his setup. What we might see, we sort of saw Gundogan starting from a deeper position in this game. We may see perhaps more of Rodri on his own and Gundogan pushed up a little bit. We may potentially also see, depending on how the game goes, possibly Riyad Mahrez in for Bernardo Silva, if they need a goal or whatever. But I don't think he's too inclined to change it. I think there's a reason why he didn't make any substitutions until the 90th minute. And I think by now everybody's brought up the fact, Pep overthinks in big games, which I think is a very unfair accusation. But I think it's gotten into his head a tiny bit where he's going to come out and say, look, we're better than they are. I'm just going to play what I think is my best 11 and let them worry about us.
So that game finally poised going into the second leg. Meanwhile, the other semi-final, very much advantage Inter after beating AC Milan by 2-0. Gab, were you surprised how easy Inter made this look, certainly in the opening exchanges of this game?
Yeah, in the first half, I mean, it did look to me as if Milan were almost unprepared. I mean, the Dzeko goal, he's a big target. He's not going to be super mobile. He's got big, long legs that he can stick out and turn the ball into the net because we've seen him do it before. And that's exactly what happened. I think they'll be disappointed with the defending on that goal, as well as the second goal. When you concede 2 goals in the space of 3 or 4 minutes, I think it's an ancient footballing law that something's wrong. You weren't prepared to concede the second one so quickly. And so I think Pioli's going to be looking at that. He'll be looking at some of their other defending in the first half. I thought they were better after the break, but no question, Milan missing Rafael Leao.
Inter were excellent, weren't they?
They sure were. And the intensity with which they played, the energy that you had through the midfield, which we didn't see from Milan, certainly in the first half, and the ability for guys that you don't think are actually defensive players putting in the work. So a guy like Mkhitaryan putting in the work in the midfield, Çalhanoğlu putting the work in the midfield, and dominating that area of the field so much so that they were pushing Milan back and they were forcing turnover in bad areas and dominating everything in the first half. The one thing that they would be disappointed with is that this is not worse than 2-0, because there were chances there. They hit the post, they had opportunities. Maignan came up with a couple of saves. But overall, if you're Inter, 2-0, first leg, you take it and you love it how your team looked, certainly in the first 45 minutes.
Did Inter look good because Milan was so bad? I think that's a question that's out there. I mean, you can only play who's in front of you and do the job, but it really should have been 3 or 4 for Inter, maybe 5. That's how bad Milan were, as Gab said in the first half. They did get better, for sure, but it was a low bar. So the question is out there, was this Inter on the front foot? They did play well, but a large part of that was down to the fact that this Milan side, Champions League semi-final, were so dishevelled. I mean, it was surprisingly bad.
Well, for now, we'll say thank you very much to Gab, to Craig and Ali. That's The Next Level, presented by FedEx. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.